There are reports of illegal cluster bombs and vacuum bombs being used by the Russians. If that's true, what is the next step of this administration, and is there a red line for how much violence will be tolerated against civilians in this manner that's illegal and potentially a war crime?
It would be. I don't have any confirmation of that. We have seen the reports. If that were true, it would potentially be a war crime.
We're in a situation where Ukraine continues to be brutally attacked across the board by munitions, by these cluster munitions that have dud rates that are very, very low, very high, that are a danger to civilians, number one. Number two, the Ukrainians are running out of ammunition. The ammunition that is, they call them 155 millimeter weapons. This is a war relating to munitions, and they're running out of that ammunition, and we're low on it. And so what I finally did, took the recommendation of the Defense Department to, not permanently, but to allow for, in this transition period where we get more 155 weapons, these shells for the Ukrainians, to provide them with something that has a very low dud rate. It's about I think it's 150, which is the least likely to be blowing, and it's not used in civilian areas. They're trying to get through those trenches and then stop those tanks from rolling. And so, but it was not an easy decision, and we're not signatories to that agreement.
This is my video update from Larnaca, Cyprus on this Saturday morning, July the 8th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Joe Bidenopoulos. Greece is least favored son because Joe Biden, he decided to make the difficult decision. He decided to make the difficult decision and send cluster munitions to Ukraine. At least that's what he told Fareed Zakaria. It was a very difficult decision, but Biden wants everyone to know that these cluster munitions, these are the safe ones. These are the cluster munitions that are really safe, not the ones that are dangerous, according to Biden. These are the good ones. These are the good cluster munitions, and these are the wonder weapons that will help Ukraine defeat Russia. So Biden just wants everyone to know that. But the interesting part, one of the interesting parts of his interview with Fareed Zakaria of CNN was that Biden admitted that the United States is low on ammunition, that the U.S. has been demilitarized when it comes to ammo. That was quite an admission from the Biden White House. And in order to keep Ukraine fighting, they've decided to give them cluster munitions. That's what this is really all about. It is about keeping Ukraine fighting. It's not about Ukraine winning, because Ukraine cannot win. Ukraine has lost and it will lose. It's about keeping Ukraine fighting, making it so that Ukraine has not lost and Russia has not won, at least until November 2024. That is what this is all about. It is about getting Biden reelected or getting some other Democrat elected. And it's also about money, getting money to the military-industrial complex, getting money to the collective West political elite. They don't want this conflict to end either, because they are all becoming very, very rich, as are all of the military commanders in the collective West and the military commanders in Ukraine. They're all making a lot of money. And of course, Elensky is also making a lot of money. So they want to keep this thing going, even though they know they have lost. And that is what this is all about. And even Jake Sullivan, he gave a pathetic statement to the media yesterday, trying to explain away the decision to give cluster munitions to Ukraine. Jake Sullivan wants everyone to know that this is different, because these cluster munitions, well, they're going to be used by the Ukraine military, and they're going to be used on the Ukrainian people. So Ukraine is going to be extra super careful when using these cluster munitions. because they're using them on their own people. So they're going to be very, very, very careful. That was Jake Sullivan's argument. It was pathetic, and you could hear the panic in his voice. I mean, he was panicking. You know why Jake Sullivan is panicking? Because Pelosi and the DNC, they called Jake Sullivan and they said, don't you dare let Ukraine collapse, at least not until November 2024. You do whatever you need to do to keep Ukraine fighting. That's what they told Sullivan.
Is that it is going to use these in a very careful way that is aimed at minimizing any risk to civilians. And by the way, Ukraine, the democratically elected government of Ukraine, has every incentive to minimize risk to civilians because it's their citizens. It's Ukrainians who they are trying to protect and defend. This is not Ukraine taking these and going and using them in the Middle East or in Southeast Asia or in some faraway land. They're using them on their territory to defend their territory.
So he's panicking because he also understands that Ukraine cannot win and Ukraine is on the brink of collapse. And Biden giving these cluster munitions, which, by the way, the Ukraine military is already using lethal weapons like cluster munitions. They use these pedal mines and then they fire them in civilian areas in the Donbass and in Donetsk, and little kids see these pedal mines and all kinds of horrible things happen. But anyway, the whole narrative about the cluster munitions, which is a terrible thing, the Biden White House's decision to do this is a turning point. I think we really have reached a type of watershed moment, because you are seeing some Democrats come out and say this is too far. You're seeing a lot of EU leaders and EU member states saying this is too far. For example, Austria, they came out and they said, sorry, we can't support this. Even Germany, even Annalena Baerbock, she came out and she said that Germany simply cannot support this. The UN, they said they can't go along with this. So this is a turning point, because it shows that even these warmongers, Annalena Baerbock, the United Nations, all of these people who are uber, super duper warmongers and hate Russia, they hate Russia with a passion. Even for them, this is like too much. They're like, you've gone too far now, Biden. Even they can't stomach this decision made by the Biden White House. And it really shows the entire world how much Biden not only hates the Russians, but how much he also hates Ukrainians.
We're working with Ukraine to minimize the risks associated with the decision. The Ukrainian government has offered us assurances in writing on the responsible use of DPICMs, including that they will not use the rounds in civilian populated urban environments, and that they will record where they use these rounds, which will simplify later demining efforts. Ukraine also has committed to post-conflict demining efforts to mitigate any potential harm to civilians. The United States has already invested more than $95 million in Ukraine's demining activities, and we will provide more support to help Ukraine mitigate the impacts of cluster munition use by both sides in this conflict.
He doesn't care about Ukraine. The Biden White House doesn't care about Ukraine. That's why they're fine giving over these cluster munitions. They just want to see the war continue, at least for another year and a half. And they don't care how many soldiers, how much military, how many civilians suffer. As long as the conflict continues for them. That's the important part. So that is one of the big news stories for today. The Russians will deal with this, as the Russians have dealt with everything that the collective West has thrown their way. They're going to deal with it. And this just means that the Russians are going to take more and more territory in Ukraine, because the Russians are going to feel like they need to create more and more of a demilitarized buffer zone. That's going to be the price that Ukraine is going to have to pay for the evil that the Biden White House does. But they can't stop. They have no reverse gear. They have no reverse gear, and they understand that this conflict has been lost. They understand that, but they want to keep it going. For as long as it takes. Isn't that their mantra? We're going to support you for as long as it takes. We're going to support you to destroy your country and destroy your people for as long as it takes. That's really what they mean. So the other big story that dropped yesterday was the Elensky curse. The Elensky curse strikes again. This time it hit Mark Rutte and the Netherlands. Their government has collapsed. Rutte has resigned. This is all over immigration, and the government, the ruling government, could not come to an agreement as to how to handle immigration. The Rutte government has been a terrible government, but he's been in power actually since 2010. My God. And he's resigned. He's going to lead a caretaker government until elections are scheduled. And I believe they're saying that elections are going to come about in November, though there are other parties in the Netherlands that are trying to push for elections to happen much sooner. So the Elensky curse, it hits Mark Rutte. Can someone create a meme with remember the Assad must go meme where Assad's like this? He's like got his hand to his ear and he's like, Assad must go. And then it has like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Angela Merkel. And they're like, Assad must go. And, all these leaders have gone, but Assad is still there. Can someone create a meme with like Putin like this, where it says, Putin is fragile? And then it has like Mark Rutte, Putin is fragile, Macron, Putin is fragile, like all of the collective West leaders that have either exited or will exit. All of them that said Putin is fragile. The Putin government is going to collapse, everyone. The Putin government is going to collapse. That's what they were telling us 1 week ago. And now look. The Netherlands has collapsed. France is on the brink of collapse. Whose government is fragile? Oh boy. So that was big news. And that dropped like yesterday evening, my time. And it was like a shock. Rutte's gone. Goodbye, Rutte. Elensky curse strikes again, because if there was one person that absolutely supported Elensky and the WEF and Klaus Schwab, it was Mark Rutte. He's Klaus Schwab's boy. I mean, there's one person that Klaus Schwab considers his favorite son. It's Mark Rutte. And all the damage he has done to the Netherlands and what he's done to the farmers. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, Mark Rutte. But I don't know. Does he have a chance to win again? Can he run again? Is he going to run again? Let me know. People in the comments down below. Is Rutte really exiting, or are we going to see him back in power? So Elensky, he was in Slovakia, and then he made his way to Turkey yesterday, and he met. It's a bit windy. Let's move somewhere where it's not so windy, because I don't have my wind shield, my wind guard on as I'm filming this video. So in Turkey, nothing to really report. They talked about the grain deal. Erdogan did say that Ukraine has the right to join NATO, but all right, whatever. Of course, they have the right to join NATO. That's not a really big statement from Erdogan. And Elensky, he refused to sign up to Turkey's sponsored peace deal. He's like, no, I don't want any type of peace deal that Turkey is sponsoring. That's about it from the meeting with Turkey. And the meeting with Slovakia, well, they agreed to produce weapons, whatever. Like Slovakia is going to produce weapons with Ukraine. It's ridiculous. Basically, all that agreement is to get the contracts in place, get the money budgeted to give to the military-industrial complex, And no weapons are going to be produced by Slovakia and Ukraine. This is nonsense. But the money is going to absolutely be budgeted and given to the military-industrial complex. That is absolutely going to happen. Less windy here, so let me take a seat right here where the wind is a lot less. For some reason, I'm protected. Not much wind here, so we can do some of the video. Better audio. So Slovakia, yeah. So they got that agreement in place, but that's about it. That's all that happened when he was in Slovakia. He did say something really funny, really stupid and funny, which shows Elensky's intelligence level. As he was speaking to the media, Elensky had a really big complaint, right? He was really irked at the fact that so many people in Slovakia want peace, want the ceasefire, and they're supportive of Russia and of Putin. And it really bothered Elensky, and he lashed out. He lost it. And he said, as he was surprised at all the support for Russia, he said that I can't understand where this pro-Russian position comes from. Have you seen people from the US or Europe coming to Russia to want to immigrate to Russia? I've never seen anything like this. And then Elensky, I think he said, wait a minute, let me see. I think he said something about cars as well. He said something like Russia, like the Soviets, they don't build cars. So why are you supporting Russia? I need to find the quote. Oh man, I didn't bookmark it. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Let me see if I can find this quote from Elensky where he talks about cars. The guy is not the sharpest. Here we go. I don't understand where this pro-Russian position comes from. Have you ever seen Americans or Europeans switch to Soviet cars or move to live in Russia? Have you ever seen Europeans or Americans switch to Soviet cars?
Цікаво, я просто не до кінця розумію, звідки це йде проросійська позиція. Тобто ви бачили, що Сполучені Штати Америки, щоб люди звідти переїжджали в Росію? Ви бачили, щоб люди з Європи хотіли мігрувати в Росію? Ви це бачили? Що вони виходили з європейських автомобілів і сідали на автомобілі радянського зразку? Я просто такого не бачив жодного разу. Жодного.
That's what you base your love of a country on, whether they make good cars. I don't understand why people like Putin, why they like Russia. Russia don't make cars. Italy make good cars, good Ferrari. I like Italy because it make Ferrari. And when I do the white sugary stuff and I get in my Ferrari, I go vroom vroom very fast. And this is a super good feeling. This is why I buy many homes in Italy, because they make Ferrari good car. Madam President, Slovakia, maybe you have €1 billion to give me. I buy a home or maybe some more Ferrari. Elensky is just not sharp. He really is. You take the script away from the guy, and he says some of the dumbest stuff. I mean, he really does say some of the dumbest stuff. The guy is just, oh boy, I can't believe this is the guy that is destroying the collective West and is risking the destruction of the world on the Joker, on this guy, on this Joker. The world is being destroyed by a clown puppet comedian. All right. Let's, since we're on the subject of saying dumb things, Annalena Baerbock, she wrote an article for The Guardian, and right before the big NATO meeting, and she said that Germany's number one enemy is Russia. She said Russia is the number one enemy, and Putin is the number one enemy. And she called for regime change in Russia. That's pretty much what she did. If you believe that Annalena wrote this article in The Guardian, I personally don't believe it, because Annalena has problems with basic arithmetic. How in God's name could she write an entire article? I don't know. But in the article, she pretty much says that that Putin is the cause of all evil, and he must be removed. So my advice to Annalena is, you go first. You go to Moscow and you figure out a way to remove Putin. just nonsense from these collective West leaders. They still have regime change on their brains. What government collapsed, Annalena? What government just collapsed? Was it Putin's? Is Putin's government fragile? I think Germany's government is fragile. I think Germany's government is on the brink of collapse. Elensky curse? It's coming for you, Annalena. It's coming for you, Olaf Scholz, and for you, Habeck. Just wait. The Elensky curse is coming. Coming to a theater near you. And Stoltenberg, since we're on the subject of stupid, Stoltenberg, he also gave a press conference yesterday, prepping everyone for the big NATO meeting. And Stoltenberg, he said that Russia is the enemy, like a terrorist. He said Russia is like a terrorist threat.
The two main threats to our alliance, Russia and terrorism.
That is what Stoltenberg said. And then Stoltenberg outlined what's to come in the big NATO summit. By the way, Bidenopolis is going to give this really big speech, they say. When the NATO summit concludes, and he's going to talk about Ukraine and democracy and stuff like that, because Biden knows a whole lot about democracy, doesn't he? And Stoltenberg, he basically outlined what's coming. And to be quite honest, it's nothing different than what's already being provided to Ukraine. They're basically, NATO's going to basically create a NATO-Ukraine Council, which is just code words for more bureaucracy and more money in the pockets of NATO and these bureaucrats. NATO is going to pledge something like $500 million in cash to Ukraine every year, more money for the political elites and for the big guy and the Elensky regime. NATO said they're going to promise more weapons, which is more money for the military-industrial complex. They said they're going to provide weapons to Ukraine for as long as it takes, and all NATO member states are going to agree to this. More money for the MIC. And the Biden White House said they're going to provide something like Israel-like guarantees for Ukraine, like more money and more weapons to Ukraine. That's basically what they're promising, which, to be quite honest, is no different than what they've been doing for the last year and a half. They're basically going to promise Ukraine what they've been giving Ukraine for the last year and a half, and there's going to be no membership of Ukraine in NATO. That's what Stoltenberg has said. That's what the White House has said. Ukraine is not getting into NATO until after the conflict. But they're going to give Ukraine weapons and money, which is really code for more money into the pockets of the political elite and of the military-industrial complex. This is one big money grab. It's one big grift, and they don't want this thing to end. Of course, Stoltenberg and Baerbock and Ursula and Bidenopolis, they don't want this thing to end. This is good business for them. So that's what Stoltenberg said. The White House is saying the same things. Israel-like guarantees, which, okay, whatever. You've already now given them cluster munitions. What's next? You're trying to avoid American boots on the ground because that's going to look really, really bad heading into an election cycle. You're trying to push Poland to send their troops into Ukraine. You're trying to push Romania to send their troops. The Baltic nations, they don't have troops to send to Ukraine, so they're trying to push Poland to send their troops. But the Poland population, they're like, we don't want any of this. This is nonsense. It's ridiculous. We don't want to be at war. This needs to stop. But the Polish government, they keep on flirting back and forth with sending troops to Ukraine. They're actually sending like 1,000 troops and some artillery to the borders of Belarus. The excuse is because Wagner is there. Poland is going to send some military hardware and troops to the borders with Belarus as well. But look, the Biden White House, the neocons would love to send American troops into Ukraine. The American people, they would punish Biden for it. They would punish Biden in a big, big way. They would punish the Democrats in a big, big way if they start sending huge, en masse, huge deployments of American troops into Ukraine. It is not going to play well for the Democrats and for Biden. So they've opted for cluster munitions. Next is ATACMS. What's next? Chemical weapons, tactical nukes. How far is the Biden White House going to take this? Just so they can make it over the November 2024 election mark. That's what they're aiming for. So, what else do I have to talk about before I do a clown world? Elensky is trying to make something happen militarily in Ukraine. He's trying to make something happen in the direction of Artemovsk, Bakhmut, because that's the one area, as I've said on many videos, as Alexander has said, that's the one area where the Russians haven't really had much time to build fortifications, any time to build fortifications. So they're trying to make something happen there so Elensky can go into the NATO meeting and said, look, I captured 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers. Now give me money. That's pretty much what he's trying to do now. But from what I understand, it's just not working. He's not able to make any breakthroughs at all. So that's what he's trying to do on the ground before the big Vilnius meeting. And the AI generated android known as Budanov, he actually came out with a statement and he said that the counteroffensive is going to take 10 months. 10 months, according to Budanov. That's how long this big counteroffensive is going to take. So, this is the marina of Larnaca, but there's another marina all the way down towards that side of the city, and they're building a whole new marina a couple kilometers further down that way. So it's a nice area, some nice boats here. A lot of people are fishing. It's a nice place to come and chill out. It's another really hot day here in Cyprus. So let's do a clown world and we'll wrap this video up. How about this tweet from Kim.com? You all have heard about Facebook's clone of Twitter, right? Threads. Mark Zuckerberg decided that the best thing that his business can do is to copy Twitter. Not to make something new, not to try and innovate, but to just clone Twitter. And so that's what he did. And he launched Threads, and Threads is part of Instagram. And it's like connected to Instagram. And that's what's giving Threads its boost in user signups. But Kim.com, he put out a tweet with the logo of Threads. And he says, how to put 666, the number of the beast, into a logo. And he's exactly right. He is so right on that. And Business Insider, they actually have an article where they say users are outraged and trapped after realizing you can't delete Meta's new Threads app without deleting Instagram too. So basically, the whole Threads business model, its user registration model, is to just take everyone from Instagram and port them over into Threads. That's it. And they started censoring on day one. Like on day one, Threads started to ban people and to ban posts. Like right off the bat, they're like, okay, we can't have you talk about this. We can't have you talk about that. You're banned. You're censored. The thing's a disaster. The thing is a disaster, and I expect it to continue to be a disaster because Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook are the worst company when it comes to innovation. The worst. Even Facebook was from the Winklevoss twins, so he didn't even create that. The like button, the thumbs up like button, that's from FriendFeed, a company that Facebook bought. They didn't create the like button. That was actually created by a company in Silicon Valley called FriendFeed, which was an aggregator of all social media. A long, long time ago, they would aggregate all the social media posts, and they had a thumbs up button, a like button, and Facebook purchased them, and that's where they got the like button. What else? WhatsApp, he purchased it. Instagram, he purchased it. Facebook doesn't innovate. They purchase stuff. And then they surveil you. And they censor you. That's what they're good at. And when you sign up to Threads, it's like you have to give away your like entire life. It's like they force you to do like a colonoscopy before you sign up. It's like you give over your financial information, you give access to all your photos, to all your audio, to all your video, to your taxes, to everything, everything. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Anyway, yeah. The deep state, they told Zuckerberg to put together a Twitter clone because Elon Musk is not playing ball with the deep state. The deep state, they don't like how Elon Musk is acting very, very independent and very, very free speech. And for the most part, there are still some people that Elon needs to unban before he gets to a true free speech platform. But you take what you can get, and Elon is not, he's not listening to the deep state, and he's not following the deep state playbook. So they told Zuckerberg, well, Zuckbot, it's time to do a Twitter clone. And that's exactly what he did. Anyway, that's the video, everyone. That's the clown world. I really like the tweet from Kim.com. And when you look at the logo, you're like, yeah, I see it. I see it. All right. That's the video, the DURAN.locals.com. We are on ODYSEE, Rumble, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and what else? And that's it. I think that's it. And go to the Duran shop, 10% off, pick up a hat, use the code GOODDAY. Look for us on Twitter Shorts, where we put out 1-minute videos of the shows we do, Twitter_Shorts. Please follow us there. Let's get to 1,000 followers. I think we're at something like 500 or 600. So look for us there. Free Julian Assange, free Pablo Gonzalez, and free Gonzalo Lira. We're going to get some good news, everybody, very, very soon. Take care.